Tiberius, Rome's second emperor, was a man marked by rejection, inescapable duties, and a complex relationship with power. He was the reluctant successor of Augustus, and, unlike his charismatic predecessor, struggled to earn the affection of the people and the trust of his peers. But why did Augustus, who named him heir, despise him so much? And why did Tiberius appear so distant and misunderstood? In this journey, we will uncover the events that shaped this rejected emperor, a man of contrasts, caught between the weight of expectations and family conflicts. Family background and early years. To understand Tiberius, we need to go back to 42 BC. His father, Tiberius Claudius Nero, was a man of unstable convictions, switching alliances multiple times during Rome's civil war. Initially, he supported Julius Caesar, but after Caesar's assassination, he showed sympathy toward the senators responsible for the killing. This indecision brought great consequences for his family, including young Tiberius, who, even as a child, endured exile and the constant shifts in power. His mother, Livia Drusilla, was an influential figure in Rome, belonging to the Claudian dynasty. Intelligent and ambitious, Livia soon attracted the attention of Octavian, the future Augustus. Though she was married to Tiberius Claudius Nero, she eventually divorced him to marry Octavian. This new marriage secured a prestigious position for Tiberius and his brother Drusus, despite the lingering tensions that he carried from this forced union. Development and early steps in politics. As he grew, Tiberius was molded by the expectations of Augustus and his mother. At 13, he played a prominent role in Augustus's triumph over Mark Antony and Cleopatra, a public event marking the beginning of a highly visible career, but also significant pressures. Augustus, a shrewd strategist, saw potential in Tiberius, but held reservations about his character and ability to win over the people. In this context, Tiberius began to shine militarily. At 17, he was appointed quaestor, a position that allowed him direct involvement in state matters, and soon after, he assumed command in military campaigns, particularly in the East and Germania. Unlike his brother Drusus, known for his charisma and popularity among the troops, Tiberius was colder and more disciplined, favoring a practical and distant approach. While this demeanor was respected, it made him seem more like an impersonal military figure than an inspiring leader. The conflict with Augustus and the path to exile. As Augustus aged, succession became a critical issue. Although Tiberius was a strong candidate, Augustus hesitated to name him as his definitive successor. Instead, Augustus favored his grandsons, Gaius and Lucius, as heirs. This preference fed into Tiberius's sense of exclusion and misunderstanding, especially as he had already proven his worth on the battlefield and in public service. The tension between them peaked in a decisive episode. Augustus forced Tiberius to marry his daughter Julia after the death of her first husband, Agrippa. Though this union was politically advantageous, Tiberius deeply loved his first wife, Vipsania, and marrying Julia was a painful sacrifice. Their marital life was unhappy, and rumors of Julia's infidelity began to circulate, tarnishing both their images. In an unexpected move, Tiberius decided to withdraw from Rome and exile himself to the island of Rhodes, seeking peace and distance from political intrigues. This period in Rhodes became a phase of introspection for Tiberius, who observed from afar the political maneuvers of Augustus and the growing influence of the emperor's grandsons. While he lived in isolation, events in Rome continued to complicate his position. Julia, his wife, was accused of immoral conduct and exiled, while the influence of Augustus's grandsons continued to sideline him from the center of power. The return to Rome and the beginning of his rise. Tiberius's return to Rome was again marked by obligations and circumstances beyond his control. With the death of Augustus's grandsons, Lucius and Gaius, the succession picture changed completely. Once again, Tiberius found himself close to the throne, but now in an unavoidable position. Augustus, seeking to secure the succession, adopted Tiberius as his son, and had him adopt Germanicus, his deceased brother Drusus's son, to strengthen the line of succession. With his military strength and political experience, Tiberius became Augustus's co-regent, gradually taking on responsibilities he would need after the emperor's death. Over the next few years, he solidified his position as the only viable candidate, and the power transition was peaceful, though clouded by rumors of his mother Livia's manipulation. Some believed she had a hand in the deaths of Augustus's grandsons to ensure her son's rise. The challenges of being emperor. Tiberius took the throne at a time when Rome needed stability. However, his leadership style was not popular. Unlike Augustus, who ruled with the charisma of a beloved leader, Tiberius was seen as austere and reserved. He avoided pomp and celebrations, preferring a pragmatic, direct approach. His preference for competent military and administrative leaders over popular figures created a sense of detachment between him, the Senate, and the Roman people. Throughout his reign, he faced political difficulties and constant suspicion. To complicate matters, Tiberius came to rely increasingly on his praetorian prefect, Sejanus, who wielded growing and dangerous influence over the emperor. Ambitious and ruthless, Sejanus manipulated Tiberius and conspired against those he saw as threats. This relationship with Sejanus marked a period of paranoia and repression, during which many senators and prominent figures were persecuted. The final phase of his reign and rejection. In the later years of his reign, Tiberius was already weary and alienated from Rome. He withdrew to the island of Capri, leaving much of the administration in Sejanus's hands. The government became unpopular, and Tiberius's reputation was further tarnished by rumors and scandals. The public saw him as a distant tyrant, and the Senate, though subordinate, harbored resentment toward his lack of direct involvement. Sejanus's influence eventually became a real threat to Tiberius himself, who ultimately ordered his execution upon discovering his intentions to seize power. This episode left Tiberius even more isolated and bitter, and his rule ended under an atmosphere of mistrust and hopelessness. He died in 37 AD, leaving behind a complex legacy, an emperor who never wanted to rule, but found himself imprisoned by family and political duties. Conclusion. Tiberius's story is a lesson in the traps of power and the pressures of succession in one of history's greatest empires. Unlike Augustus, who ruled with cunning and popularity, Tiberius faced indifference and rejection. His military and political achievements, though significant, were overshadowed by his lack of connection with the people in the Senate. His reign underscores the struggle between duty and desire, between responsibility and rejection. This script not only tells the story of an emperor, but also the challenges of a historical figure who never found his place. Tiberius lived in the shadow of a loved and venerated man, and despite his best efforts, he was never able to gain the respect and admiration his title conferred.